Here's the pitch. Line drive, there it is! Into left field! Hit number 3,000! A run is scored! Musiala ran first! On his way to second with a double! Holy cow!
Hank Gibson is one strike away from the no-hitter. He takes off his cap. He mops his brow. He looks in and gets the sign. He starts the windup. Here's the pitch, and it's a strike called! A no-hitter for Gibson! Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go! Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizards.
Breaking ball! Hit off the pitcher! To the third baseman! Down play! Base hit! 3,000 for a home run!
Breeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night.
Suter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss. And that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals.
Left center, Bader. Diving catch. Oh, what a play. Carpenter with a drive. Into left center. At the wall. Gone. It's gone. Three-run homer. Carpenter. DeJong with a drive. Into deep left. At the track. At the wall. Gone. Cardinals have the lead. The 2-2. Fowler swings and sends a ball into the right field corner. Hayward up and over the fence. Hayward got a glove on it. But Dexter Fowler has just walked it on. Michaelis with a drive. Deep left field. First career hit. Gone! A home run. He does it in style. A two-run shot for his first major league hit. Julio to the plate. Into center. It's at the wall. Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a strikeout. Ponce de Leon, his first strikeout in the major leagues. There he goes, and Molina from his knees. Oh, my! Wow!
Hi, I'm Miles Michaelis,
This is Marshall Falk,
and you're listening
and you're listening
to The Usual Suspects.
to The Usual Suspects.
Well, what's up, guys? I'm Brad,
And I'm Aaron.
and you're listening to The Usual Suspects. Hey, we're working hard to try to get this thing up and running, and so hopefully that movie... I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I had to share my screen to show it, and I can actually upload it to the program, but I didn't save it as the right format, and I realized that 10 minutes before the movie was start, and I have a good computer, but I can't render that movie in less than 20 minutes. So anyway, next week we'll just have it as the right thing, but I think it worked. Tell us what's up, where you watching from, and how you're feeling. It's been a week. It's been a week. Well, it hasn't been a week since we have last been on, but it's been a week.
Yeah. No, it's like just weak performances. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. So as the title says, it's episode 3, a DeJong way from first place. Well, I think when we did our first show, the Cardinals were still in first place or tied for first place. And now they have lost 9 of their last 10, and they have fallen all the way to 4th in the division, and they are actually under 500, which is not good. So, been in many discussions, coped a lot, discussed a lot on Twitter, complained a lot. Really, really complained a lot on Twitter. Fortunately, I had a prior arrangement. I wasn't able to watch the last game all the way. One of the guys that was there with me, though, he had it on his phone, so I would peek in from time to time. And just a sad, sad offensive performance from the Cardinals that wasted an otherwise pretty good outing from Carlos Martinez. I mean, really good outing considering his last two. But,
Yeah.
7 innings, 2 runs, you take it every time, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what is the issue? What is going on?
Yes. It's all the issue. Like, there's nothing that's going, like we talked about this last week, there's nothing that's going right.
Right.
It's everything going wrong all at once. Like you were saying, 7 innings from Carlos, 2 runs, like, I think it was unearned too. Like, you'll take that. You take that every single time. But when your offense has been non-existent over the last 10 days,
right?
You know, you almost have to go out there and throw a complete game shutout, and then you're probably still going to lose. Like,
yeah, well, if your offense scores 0, the best you can hope for is nothing. You can't hope for anything good because it's just a perpetual game where you lose. And I'm not really familiar with it. It was Zach Davies that was pitching, and I'm not really familiar with him as a pitcher.
He played for Milwaukee a few years back. I think last season he played for San Diego.
I know the name sounds familiar, and if I remember correctly, he's kind of a pitcher that always gives the Cardinals trouble.
Yeah, like I saw somebody make a post yesterday. It's like Zach Davies versus everyone else, and it was Steve Rogers before the serum. And then it was like Zach Davies against the Cardinals, and it was when he turned into Captain America. I'm like, that's actually really funny. I'd love to look at his splits against St. Louis because, like I said, he played for Milwaukee, so he's faced the Cardinals plenty of times before this. But if you look at his repertoire, like, he doesn't throw hard. He's kind of just your like 3-4 starter, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, he's never really been like a wipeout stuff kind of guy. He's just been kind of that journeyman who has stayed in the big leagues and has had moderate enough success to where teams take flyers on him and keep him around in the league. And that's probably why he's back in the NL Central, because it's like, well, we know he can pitch against the Cardinals, so we can start him against the Cardinals every time we can.
Yeah. And we're going to get good results. One of the things I've noticed about the Cardinals and I cannot for the life of me figure this out. They struggle with soft tossers, right?
Oh, it's hilarious.
Guys who 88, 89, like, they look absolutely foolish. They either way out in front, way behind it, popping it up, all this other stuff, and there's no real good excuse for that. No. There's a lot of questions that I need answered. There's a lot of things that I'm just, for the life of me, I can't figure out. Like, I don't know how the offense can be red hot and then just go ice cold for, well, it's going on a month and a half now.
Right. I mean, if you look at the last, like, I wish I would have saved this tweet, but somebody tweeted out like their last like 10 or 15 games or so. You've got like one guy who's performing like above average. Mm-hmm. And that's Tyler O'Neill. Like, outside of O'Neill, I think Carpenter's actually hit fairly well over the last couple of weeks, but outside of those two, like, the entire lineup is hitting below average. So it's like, it's not one guy, it's the entire lineup is not performing.
Yeah. And like Phil said, everybody has individually good games, but they don't put it all together as a team, right? So
right.
You will have 1 or 2 guys that'll go 3 for 4 or whatever, and then everybody else is like, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the question, right? The reason that you have some guys doing really well for some games and then the rest of the team not doing well is one word. It's inconsistency. The offense, as a characteristic, if you could describe this offense in one word, it would be inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I've harped on this for years. You can go back and look through all of our old episodes. Give me a just above average offensive performance that's consistent, as opposed to, like, we score 1 run and then we score 12.
Yeah. No, I hate that. Like,
and they can't do it, right? Paul DeJong goes red hot and then ice cold. And then the same for, well, you could just name anybody, really. For a while there, Tommy Edman was pretty steady, but even he's been struggling as of late.
Oh yeah, no, his last couple of weeks have been really bad also. Again, it's the whole team.
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious because if you look, like, the All-Star voting is coming out, right? And so there's all these guys that are getting their votes in, and people are like, oh yeah, I wonder what Cardinals are going to make it. I think Arenado is currently second and third baseman. It's like, and to an extent I can see that, but there's a reason he's behind Bryant. Like, if there's anybody in St. Louis going, why is Bryant ahead of Arenado? Like, you need to look it up because Chris Bryant's playing fantastic. Well, Arenado has been cold lately, but overall he's still been solid.
Here would be my complaint
every
about
other
that.
position, I cannot argue for a Cardinal being there except O'Neill in the outfield, and he's not even in the top 10. He's like 12.
It's because nobody knows he's doing good because his great performance is being swallowed up by the rest of this mediocre to below average to just downright awful.
Right. Nobody's talking about Tyler O'Neill because the Cardinals are 2-10 in their last 12 games. Like,
Kurt says Yachty.
It's really bad because I tweeted that out because I looked at their last 4 series, which is 12 total games. They're 2-10 and they were outscored 77-41. That's like really bad.
Yeah.
And I would argue that their tough stretch came like right around there. Because in reality, it started the game before. The last game against Arizona, where they kind of threw their B team out there and they got whomped.
Yeah.
And then the next series against the Dodgers is where it fell apart. 2-10 since that.
And that still aggravates me because if you go back to, I think it was 2018, the year that Schilt got hired, and the question was, were the Cardinals going to make it? And they got red hot. And then when they went on the skid that cost them the playoff position, it was after Schilt put a get-me-out-of-there lineup in there, and they just spun out and went into a tailspin, and they never did recover, and they missed the playoffs. Yeah. For the life of me, I can't understand why you would not take the W against the team you're curb stomping, knowing that you're going into a street brawl with Los Angeles, who is a really good team. Why are you trying to rest your guys and making your chances of winning worse on the games that you need to win to make sure that whenever you go 500 against the really good teams, or 2-3 or 1-for-3 in that series, you've absolutely got to take the wins that they're going to give you. And the get me out of here lineup is a throwing away the win, right? Yeah. And the other part of it that I said too is that you absolutely need to rest guys. We complained about DeJong playing 160 games out of 162 that one season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was 2019.
Yeah,
it was his first like real full season, and yeah, he played about, I think it was like 159 games.
Yeah, so if you want to rest guys, that's good. We want you to rest guys, but don't rest Goldschmidt, Arenado, Yachty, O'Neill, and all of your best players all at the same time.
Right.
That's terrible managing. You know, Schilt might be a nice guy. He might be a fiery guy. That strategy is not good, and there's nothing else you can say about it. It's not a good strategy.
No, it's
so I don't understand it. So Phil brings up the point that he said the heart of the lineup is Goldie 244, Arenado 281, O'Neill 286, Molina 273. Now I know a lot of you guys out there don't like batting average as a stat for measure of a hitter's value or whatever. Fine, whatever. But it serves the purpose for the point that I'm going to make here. And the point that I'm going to make here is Arenado 281, Tyler O'Neill 286, Yadier Molina 273, but Paul Goldschmidt at 244. That's your 3-hitter, right? And he just hasn't been himself this year. He isn't the Goldschmidt that we saw last year in that shortened season.
He's not even the Goldschmidt we saw 2 years ago.
He's not the Goldschmidt that we traded from Arizona, right?
No, like, and here's the thing. If you look at his career, he's a guy that strikes out a lot, but he hit a lot of doubles, and he hit a fair amount of home runs.
Yeah.
This year, he's striking out a lot. He's not doing damage.
He's not doing anything, right?
Yeah, and so that sucks.
Yeah. Well, and then you watch that. So you've got Goldschmidt batting behind Dylan Carlson, and then in front of Carlson you've got Edman. Edman is valuable. Edman is invaluable because you need that leadoff hitter to set the play. You get somebody on, get the pitcher coming out of the stretch. When Edman's going Dylan Carlson is usually better. And when Dylan Carlson was doing really good, that's whenever Goldschmidt was batting better than what he is now.
Yeah.
And so now, why would you give Carlson anything that he can drive if you can go to Goldschmidt, which is crazy as that sounds, if you can go to Goldschmidt, who's scuffling, and let him get himself out. And so what you see is you see now Dylan Carlson expanding the zone, and now he's struggling. So it's like contagious. Hitting is contagious, and looks like not hitting is contagious. And I just don't know, I don't know what you can do about that. To fix the offense. Well, to fix the offense, I know that the offensive the offensive coaches, the hitting coaches, can't swing the bat for guys. I know they can't do that. But when you're at the major league level, you've got video cameras from every stinking angle watching these swings, and they can look for mechanical imperfections, mechanical things that have changed, right? Something as little as rotating your hands a little too much, and then your knuckles aren't lined up, so you can't roll your knuckles over, your wrists over when you swing. Something stupid. What's his name up in Chicago? Hayward is really bad about that. If you watch that, he'll start rolling his top hand too far, and then when he swings, his bat doesn't extend out of his arm. It makes like almost a V shape when he swings, and he's bad when he does that, right? And it's something he's mentioned. He's got to correct it. But you got to look at the little things that these guys are doing with that. And then the second part of the hitting coach's job and the hitting coach's staff's job is to formulate a plan against a pitcher. You've got to look at what the pitcher's doing, what he's throwing you, how he's trying to get you out, and how he tries to get guys out. And then you got to help your hitters get your approach. It was the second game. Who was pitching the second game? Was it Hendricks?
Yeah.
So Hendricks was pitching the second game. I might be wrong on this. But he threw like 4 or 5 fastballs, 88 miles an hour fastballs to Goldschmidt, and he was late on them. And eventually Goldschmidt popped out. And the thing is like, whatever information Goldschmidt had, if he's late on an 88 mile an hour fastball, what's he not looking for? He's not looking for a fastball. If Hendricks throws 90, 95, Goldschmidt misses those balls and he strikes out in 3 pitches. He doesn't have a battling at bat. But he's looking for a certain pitch. He's looking for something off speed, whether it's a curveball or a changeup or whatever. And he never got it. And the problem is that he's going up there with a bad strategy. Now, does Jeff Albert take the at-bat for Goldschmidt? No. But does Jeff Albert feed Goldschmidt the information he needs to be a successful hitter? Yes.
Yeah,
he does.
Not great.
And so when you look at the offense struggles this year, it struggled last year, and it struggled the year before. They have stretches where they're good. We see that, 12 whatever runs. But, yeah, Rob's right. Pitching and hitting coaches will lose their job. I'm actually making that point. I think Jeff Albert should lose his job. I think you've given him all the opportunity to implement his system and to do his thing, and it hasn't been good since he's been here.
Yeah, it's not great at all.
And who was the other guy? Was it, they called him Buddha?
Mark Medaska.
Yeah. When he took over for John Mabry when Mabry was fired, he had success with these guys, and apparently they let him go because his hitting philosophy and Albert's philosophy didn't line up. Yeah, so I'm not making that point yet, but we can get to that. That Maddox too, if they can't stop walking hitters. Right now, I'm just going to talk about Jeff Albert because he has had a track record, he's had time, and he just hasn't had success. And come to find out, all the successful hitting that got the Cardinals to hire him was out of Houston, which turns out, what were they doing? Cheating. So, they were sold with a bill of goods to him, and there's this whole idea of well, we've invested this much in him, we got to keep going. No, you don't. That's called the sunk. That they have a word for that. It's the sunk cost fallacy. You've never sunk too much money into something, or too much time, or too much effort to cut your losses if you know that it's a failing cause. So, anyway. That is my gripe. That is one thing that I think the Cardinals could do to start getting their guys back on track hitting, because they have successful hitters.
Yeah. I mean, they've got guys like I tweeted this yesterday. They've got a lot of names, but no one's producing. And it's a lot of names that have produced. So it's like, what's the problem? Like,
Right.
It's not like, okay, Goldschmidt's having a down year. No, Goldschmidt's having a down year. Carpenter's having another down year. Arenado's even having a down year. DeJong's having a down year. The only person who's not is O'Neill. Like,
Yeah.
everybody else is struggling, so you're like...
Well, and you can't really say Dylan Carlson's having a down year, because you don't know what a year is for Dylan Carlson. You know, last year's kind of like a...
It's his first full season in the big leagues. I'd say that this is a fairly successful year, but there's still 2 or 3 years of him playing before we really realize what he is.
Right. Well, I mean, think about how long it took Tyler O'Neill to come around.
Right. I mean, this is like his... I mean, to be fair, most of the last couple of years, he only had like 250 at bats. So, like, this is the first year where you kind of expected him to be like the full-time starter. I know last year you probably expected him to be the full-time starter, and then, you know, COVID happened. So you didn't really get to see a full season. And so it's tough to really even look at last year and go, yeah, no, like, that makes, like you can't even look at last year's numbers and give yourself like a real indication of like what guys are. Like even Goldschmidt last year, where we're like, oh, this is the Goldschmidt we needed this whole time. I'm like, it was only a 60-game season.
Right.
If you look at his collective career as a Cardinal, you're like, you're gonna pick it up, bud? Like,
yeah.
Like
paying you a lot of money.
Like whenever, man. Like not, you don't have to do like right now, but like soon. Like that'd be cool. Like really soon, please. I'm begging you.
This is an interesting statement here. Are players coming off the IL come back hitting better? So bring up the hitting coach from the alternate side or AAA. I mean, they do. Yeah, they did last year too.
Yeah, I mean that's not a surprise at this point. That's been like the same case for years now. Like ever since they brought up Albert. Like every time a guy gets hurt, he comes back for like in a couple weeks he's raking, and then he gets back into Jeff Albert's philosophy, and then all of a sudden and he's back down to earth.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
This isn't new. This has continued to happen for a very long time.
Yeah. So, and then now people say, well, pitchers are better. I will argue that pitchers are not better right now. Let me make a different argument to you, but you're just going to have to come.
Maybe compared to like 25 years ago, but compared to like the last few years, like no, they're kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even 20
really good for the last like 5 years or so.
Even 25 years ago,
pitching.
Well, even 25 years ago, I mean, you name guys from 25 years ago, and you go, "Oh yeah, he was pretty good. He was dominant." You know, so every
now are dominant for a different reason because they all throw 98.
Well, you had guys that didn't throw 98 but were dominant. You had guys that threw like Hendricks does, and they were.
I mean, Hendricks is still pretty good. Is the problem
dominant, right? You know, and I know Phil knows who I'm talking about here. You're talking about guys like Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, you know, guys like that. But the reason they were good was because they could throw strikes, which brings us to our next complaint about pitching.
It's still a problem. Isn't that surprising? Aren't we all surprised that they still can't not walk people?
Yeah, I'm shocked. Why are... No, seriously, why are guys who were decent last year, and when I say decent, they could throw a strike, not throwing strikes anymore? What's changed? When did this start? You know, Helsley's been struggling.
Yeah, like
Genesis Cabrera is good, and then he's not.
Yeah, like he had that stretch where he hit Harper in the face, and then was an absolute maniac. And the last couple of times I've seen him, he's gotten lit up. So I don't know.
Rob just mentioned something called Spider Tack. Do you know what Spider Tack is? I just found this out today. Spider Tack is I don't know if it's a cream or something, but it's something that they invented to help the strongman competitions, to help those guys get a grip on the bar and not drop it. And pitchers have found out that, hey, if I smear some of this on my arm or in my glove or on my hat, I can get a better grip on the ball, and I can get more rotations and RPMs.
I mean, to be fair, it is working.
Well, you ever try to throw a ball of tape? Throws your timing off, doesn't it? Or if you're used to only throwing a ball of tape, you go to throw a regular ball of paper, and your timing's going to be off. So either they are using it and it's throwing them off, or they're not using it and they're throwing them off. So that's a possibility. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's a possibility.
Yeah, they're either they've either used it and now they're not, because it's like, oh man, people are starting to figure this out, and they're like, oh, I don't know how to pitch anymore.
Yeah.
Or they're finally figuring it out, like, oh, this could be really helpful. And they're like, oh, I am not used to this at all.
Yeah.
So it's a fun little game that we're playing right now called I Can't Throw Strikes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, and you would think that if it were something mechanical, something they were doing that way, that a pitching coach and the staff could figure it out and be like, hey, your arms or your shoulders flying open and that's why you're losing control, or you're doing this and that's why you're not, your timing's off, so you got to work on getting ahead with your upper body, or your lower body's not out in front, and all these other things, all the different things that could be. So it would be, it could be something like that too. And if it's something like that, you've got to ask yourself, why isn't the staff picking up on it? But generally, you don't see something like that hit the entire staff at the same time.
Right.
It could be up here, right? And part of this and is going to be the human element, right? So we talked about Maddox and his pinpoint control. So one of the things you could be seeing with the Cardinals is that they have now developed a reputation as a team that doesn't throw strikes. And so even your borderline pitches that could go either way will now be a ball in the eyes of an umpire. So if you go back and watch film of like Maddox or Glavine pitching, the strike zone starts out and these guys are painting the corner, and the next thing you know, they're throwing these balls 2 and 3 inches off the outside edge, but the umpire just kept expanding the zone, and then, it's like there's nobody going to hit that ball anyway. But they've got that reputation of they're trying to throw where they're trying to throw, and they are obviously hitting that spot, and that's obviously a strike. Right. So I think that could be something to it, or it's probably just a combination of it all. When I say it's a head issue, the last thing in your brain is oh, don't walk this guy. The last couple words are walk this guy. It doesn't matter if you say don't before it. The last thing in your head is walk this guy. And so you start, what is the word? Aiming your pitches instead of throwing. And then the thing with Jack Flaherty can throw strikes, but his problem he gets himself into is after he gets a guy down 0-2, he tries to get too fine. It's like, come on, man, trust your stuff. And that's kind of like what I would love to see guys like Helsley and Cabrera and Reyes do. And Reyes hasn't had this issue as much. Reyes has actually been pretty solid. But trust your stuff. Like you were saying earlier, you throw the ball in the upper 90s to 100 miles an hour.
Just
here it is, big boy, come and hit it.
Right.
So this is interesting too. Rob, you need to come back on Wednesday because I'm going to talk about this very topic on Wednesday in the article that dropped in Sports Illustrated about the sticky stuff and MLB's.
Yeah, batting averages have gone up. Yeah, except the Cardinals.
Yeah, MLB's crackdown
gotten worse. It's very upsetting.
Right. control pitchers hit the target, catchers didn't have to frame the pitches because the ball hit the strike zone, the catcher just held it there. That was when I was in high school, that's what framing a pitch was, is like when that's a strike, you hold it there and let the umpire look at it, not catch it out here and move it in. So, yeah. But, so the Cardinals struggling on pitching, can't throw strikes, can't get your starting pitching deep into games. You're going to burn up your bullpen. There's only so many arms. And then you go from that, now it has translated into defensive plays. I've seen more errors from this team than I thought I would the whole season. And they're not like, oh, that's kind of a rough error to give that guy. It's some bad stuff. Muffing pop flies, can't pick up a ground ball. And then the real bad ones are like not knowing where to go with the ball in the situation that you're in when you don't have situational awareness. So when you talk about things like situational awareness, looking at mechanics, and all that other stuff, to me, that all comes back to one issue or one group. Who is in charge of all of that sort of stuff? Well, it's your coaching staff. So I think that the coaching staff has some problems. I don't know if they realize who it is, but it's messed them up. And Rob, the loss of, I would agree with you, but Tommy Edman is their second baseman, not Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter has no range, but the reason Matt Carpenter's in there is because your fourth and fifth outfielders can't play their position or they're hurt, right? Tommy Edman would be your second baseman, and Tommy Edman is 95% of Colton Wong. That extra 5% that Colton Wong can make, that Tommy Edman can't, are things that are just kind of like mind-boggling, like Ozzie Smith diving behind second base, barehanding a bad hop, kind of mind-boggling. So I understand their strategy there, but they're not playing their best defensive lineup. That's exactly it. Edman rocks at second base when he's there, but he's not there, and that infuriates me. Why can't Lane Thomas be average?
That would be too easy.
Your defense would be so much better, so you're going to keep more runs off the board. So, anyway. So there's some issues. I feel like, Aaron, I have been talking an awful lot, and you've just been sitting there listening. Is there stuff that you want to add to this? This is all the stuff that, as these games go on, right?
I mean, like I tweeted last night, I tried to get a lot of my yelling out of the way yesterday because I knew it doesn't translate well to a discussion-based podcast. Baseball right now as a whole for me sucks.
Yeah, problem with Arkansas, didn't you?
Dude, oh my gosh. Like I don't know how much of my tweets you saw about this. I didn't tweet a whole lot about it.
I was busy.
But they had, yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a big Arkansas Razorbacks fan. I'm still a fan because you've seen how well we perform in football. That alone shows you that I'm not a bandwagon fan. But traditionally, baseball, we are very good. And this season, we were very good. Like the number one team in the country. And
precisely, Terry, precisely. I don't know if you can read what.
Yeah, so they were the number one team in the country. They made it past their first round in the college playoffs. They were in the second round against NC State. You know what they did in the first game, Brad? They won 21-2
against NC State.
Yeah, 21-2.
Okay. They
proceeded to lose the next two games by 1 run, and they're out. What? And what's funny? They've got a guy on their team, Kevin Kopps. I encourage you to look up his stats this year. He was essentially he was a reliever he was kind of like their specialist guy. They would throw him out there for 1 inning. They would throw him out there for 3 innings. He would just pitch all the time. He pitched every game in the series. And you know what he did yesterday? Started and pitched 8 innings. Yep. gave up 2 runs, and they lost 3-2 on a home run in the 9th.
Wow, that's like one more inning than Carlos Martinez pitched.
Yeah, but he did it on like 2 days rest, where he pitched the day before. I think he pitched like 90 innings this year and struck out like 140 or like 130. Like, he was ridiculous. But the whole time it's like, oh my God, this is just like the Cardinals. They score a ton of runs and then they forget how to hit. And it was legitimately like, right now baseball is just an absolute pain for me, and for 2 very different reasons. You've got Arkansas, who's the best team in the country, who then decides to suck, and then you've got the Cardinals, who have just continued sucking. And I tweeted this out a little bit earlier. I haven't checked on it, but you know what's a scary thought?
What's
How
that?
bad the Cardinals could be right now if they didn't acquire Nolan Arenado.
Well, we're not talking about
Yeah,
that.
just think about that. They acquired Nolan Arenado, and they're 1 game below 500, 65 games into the season. They could be way worse right now.
Oh yeah, they could be in the bottom.
They'd be I don't think they'd be Pittsburgh bad, but like, look at their last 12 games. They're like easily the worst team in Major League Baseball right now.
Yeah.
And if you look at the names, you're like, why is this team performing so bad? Which just goes to show that it's not all about like the names that you have there, as long as if you can't produce. And right now, no one's producing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely infuriating, because I'm just sitting there like,
do the
what
thing.
are we doing? Or I guess, what are we not doing? Oh, everything right. We're not doing everything right.
What are we doing right?
Wrong.
There's nothing.
Right. Exactly. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's...
Yeah. Play it again says no pitching. You right. We don't have pitching. We don't have hitting. We don't have pitching. We don't have hitting, and we don't have defense.
That's probably Austin that replied that, because we've been talking back and forth, because he's a Cubs fan, and all he would do is send me one word. He would just be like, pitching, and I'm like, yeah, dude, we're trash. Like,
hey, let me ask you this a question though, Austin, if that is you, Austin. What did we have last night, and what didn't we have last night?
Yes.
No. Give me a break. He said even if we didn't have pitching, we'd probably still be behind the Cubs. No, if we had pitching, we'd be a lot better.
I don't know, dude.
We'd be a lot better shape than we are now.
I mean, a lot better shape, yes, but like, if we had pitching right now, means that we would need like 6 replacement guys.
Well, if we had pitching, right, we wouldn't have gotten swept by the Reds. We wouldn't have gotten swept by the Cubs.
I mean, maybe not, but
there's a couple games that we scored. Well, we were winning 5-0 in the first game against the Cubs.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, no offensive production. That's exactly the problem. Hey, I'm going to take a real short break here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in chat, but I'm going to plug our YouTube channel. If you guys, it looks like most of you guys are watching on Facebook, but we also have a YouTube channel. We're up live there, so if you guys would rather stream on YouTube, you get the exact same stream at the exact same time. And that's a link there. Even if you don't want to, we would appreciate if you jump over there and just give us a subscription. Click that notification bell on YouTube. You can also find us at facebook.com/mutual suspects, I believe is what it is.
You can probably hear my cat in the background.
I can hear your cat in the background. That is a cat, not a child.
She won't shut up. She's so loud right now.
You can also, if you go over, if you haven't liked the page yet, if you just kind of stumbled across this from one of the other St. Louis sports pages, if you just stumbled across the stream, please give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/mutual suspects. We go live there. And then the other one is our Twitter page, and our Twitter page is at mutual_suspects. Let me see if I can get that in there. So I got to plug the socials. Usual Suspects, like, follow, subscribe, please. Help us get the word out. Share with your friends. The other thing is, too, I'm talking to you guys in the chat. We love to talk to you guys in the chat. And when you make good points, or whenever the chat is slow, when you make any point, we'll throw it up on the screen like this.
Yeah,
right
even
here.
if you don't make good points, I mean, we'll still talk about it.
We want you to be like Phil and have them all up on the socials, and that's why Terry called Phil an overachiever. So we'll throw your tweet up there, or your message, or whatever it is, your comment on Facebook. We'll put it up there. And then, like he said, also, I'm kidding, Cubs won't be able to keep this up either. Our pitching is subpar as well. Yeah, but your bullpen's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And our bullpen is not. Our bullpen was supposed to be the strength of our pitching.
It's not Gallegos or Reyes.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. I think Helsley has been looking better as of late, but it's...
I mean, that's good. He couldn't look much worse.
Well, any improvement that we see from our pitching staff, I'll take it, right?
Right.
So, let's see here. I got sidetracked. So we were just plugging the socials there. Oh, you can follow me. I think I actually have these up here. Banners. You can follow me on Twitter at RangeBrad. You can follow Aaron on Twitter at AaronMSTL. There's the usual suspects. Here's the Facebook. And you can follow us all on that. Would love to have you guys follow us. We love to chat. We love to get involved and interact with you guys because it makes our job about figuring out what to talk about easier. These shows are always better when the Cardinals are bad, I guess.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I haven't really added a whole lot to this conversation because otherwise it would just be me yelling.
Yeah, well, that's all right. You know,
I mean, sometimes it's all right. Right now, I'm almost past the pissed offness and just going like, I'm almost just apathetic. I'm like, I don't know what is, like, until they start doing anything, I'm just sitting here like, I don't know, they suck. Like, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, but like, it's true, they suck. Yeah.
Phil,
it'd be super cool if Tyler O'Neill kept playing the way he is, but even if he does, they're still under 500.
Yeah. The problem with Helsley isn't so much walks is he's giving up a lot of hard hit balls. Yeah. So, I mean, if he's going to throw hard, he needs to throw hard to where the rise on his fastball is going to rise. And so that means he needs to get that up in the zone, change the eye level of the hitter. If you look at a heat map of where he's been throwing, it's like middle in the bottom half of the zone. It's like a big red blob, and you're like, oh, yeah, no wonder you're getting smoked. That's batting practice. Yeah. At that point, it's just timing.
See, I want to get up there and hit him if that's where he's throwing.
Oh, I don't. I have no desire to step in there.
I'll get up there. I don't care.
I want to do a Cardinals fantasy camp and hit off a Ricky Horton maybe, but I don't want
to. I keep seeing the links for those. It's just like, hey, do you want to take batting practice at Busch Stadium? I'm like, absolutely. It's like, do you have $3,000? I'm like,
absolutely not.
I do not have just $3,000 lying around. And if I did, it unfortunately would not be for this.
Yeah.
But one day, maybe not. All right. But the problem is that right now would be the prime time for me to do that because here in like 10, 15 years, I'm going to swing and like break something.
Okay. Realistically, you're the GM. You got to fix this team. Well, let me ask you this. Is this team worth trying to make some moves to fix, or are they too broken for the rest of the season? Let's start with that. I raised that question in the description.
Well,
because I've seen some people suggesting that.
I guess what's the alternative? Just like letting it play out and then doing this at the end of the year type of deal, or like, again, we've already discussed this. They've got plenty of names. They just need the guys to produce. So if it's changing the hitting philosophy and firing the hitting coach, fire the hitting coach because you've got plenty of guys on this team that should be performing. And the only reason they're not is nobody knows.
Yeah.
Which to me is not a good enough excuse. And I absolutely hated when Schilt was like, yeah, we're about to get hot. I'm like, no, you're not. You're all playing really, really bad.
I could feel it. That sort of attitude might be why we're in the situation we're in.
It's not even you're about to get hot. It's like you guys are continuing to be very, very cold.
Hey, you guys in chat play along too. Do the Cardinals kind of scrap this season and look forward to next season and make moves for that, or do they keep trying to make? Do you make changes to try to make this team better? So comment that in chat while Aaron's finishing his thought.
Like, but at a point too, it's like, at what point do we just acknowledge the fact that all these ball players are adults and they're professional baseball players who have been doing this for a long time, and they should be able to, like, I don't know, figure out their own way to hit. Like, the fact that they have a hitting coach, like, the only reason the hitting coach should exist is because, like, they have the ability to, like, look at analytics and look at video and be like, here's what you're doing wrong, like, and here's how you can fix it. But, like, they're all professional ball players. Like, if they've been doing stuff for, like, their whole career, like, especially, like, for veterans like Goldschmidt and Arenado, like, they've been doing this, like, their whole careers and they've been having success. Like, how about you just let them do their thing? Or maybe, just my thought, if whatever your approach is for these hitters isn't working, maybe you just let them do their own thing. Because for right now, for the majority of the hitters in that lineup, whatever they're telling them to do is not working, like, at all. Except for O'Neill. Like, whatever O'Neill's doing, do what he's doing.
Yeah. Or if you're trying to
start bodybuilding, like,
right.
start hitting the gym hard. Because whatever he's doing, he's one of the top 10 fastest guys in the league, and he's one of the most jacked dudes in the league.
Yeah.
And he's got an OPS over 900 right now. So whatever he's doing in the gym, get on his workout program. I don't know what to tell you.
Stop smiling.
Yeah, right. Take some bucked up pre-workout.
I wish I had the Cartman beefcake soundbite.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know what to tell these guys. Like, you're adults. Figure it out. Like I'm getting tired of the scapegoat of, like, oh, we need to fire the hitting coach. And I'm like, maybe the players need to stop sucking. Like I'm tired of the whole scapegoat of, like, oh, we need to fire the GM. We need to fire the hitting coach. We need to fire the pitching coach. And I'm like, maybe these guys just aren't good enough. Like, if we thought about that, like, some of these guys, like some of these veterans that have shown that they're good at baseball, like, maybe they're just having down years. That is what it is. But have we thought about the possibility that maybe some of these guys just possibly aren't that good? Like, and it sucks to have that thought. Like, it really does suck to have that thought, because looking at the last couple of years, especially in the case of Paul DeJong, I think Paul DeJong could be really good. However, if you look at this season and what he's doing, it's like, this is not very good at all. Outside of the home runs, he's on pace to still hit like 25 bombs, but he's also on pace to hit like 165.
He's like an Adam Dunn light. Do you remember him?
So, like,
40 bombs and strike out like 800 times a year.
Like, and to be fair, his strikeout rate is, I think, at least down still from in years prior, but in years prior it was, like, really bad.
Yeah.
Like, and the problem is, it doesn't help the fans' perspective when you see them let go of guys that do end up having success elsewhere. However, I mean, the ebb to that flow is, you see guys that they let go of that did have success, and let's just forget about the guys that they let go that didn't.
Right.
You know, like, what's Randall Grichuk done? He's hit like 25 home runs. He's had a couple successful years. Oh, you mean like basically the exact same thing he did with the Cardinals? Okay, cool. What's Steven Piscotty done since he went to Oakland? Not a whole lot.
Tommy Pham.
I mean, Pham's been at least semi-decent, but he's also been hurt. Like, he got stabbed this last year, too. Like, Homeboy can't catch a break.
Well, Homeboy shouldn't have been at the strip club.
I mean, you're not wrong. But
I'm not blaming him for getting stabbed. I'm just saying if you don't go to a strip club, you're going to statistically, you're less likely to get stabbed.
I feel like a strip club statistically is a place where more stabbings occur.
Just, you know.
Compared to, like, church.
That's just off the top of my head, but
I'm just guessing. Like, whatever.
It's
but then, like, Aledmus Diaz, what's he done for Houston? He's been okay. Like, he's fine. Like, there's a lot of guys that they let go of. Like, remember Oscar Mercado? And he went to the Indians and had, like, a couple weeks where he was decent. Everyone's like, there's another guy that we shouldn't have let go of. What's he doing right now? Nothing. He's doing absolutely nothing. What's Randy Arozarena done this season? Not a whole lot.
Mm-mm.
Like, he was good in the playoffs, and everyone's like, this is ridiculous. We just gave this guy away. And what has he done since? Not a whole lot. Adolis Garcia's been good this year.
Yeah.
Patrick Wisdom's been good this year out of nowhere.
Well, I wouldn't
But again,
say he's
what
been
did
good
he
this
do
year,
for St.
though.
Louis, they gave you any indication that what he's doing now is a thing? Nothing. He gave you no reason to think that what he's doing is attainable.
Yeah.
Like I'm sick and tired of people complaining about the guys that we have because some other dudes have success elsewhere. Because guess what? It's going to continue happening. It happens for basically every team. They get rid of somebody, they end up having success elsewhere. You want to talk about a guy named Fernando Tatis Jr. that got traded to San Diego from Chicago? Do you know that, like, whenever he was traded, he was, like, not a hugely touted prospect for the White Sox? Like, he was a top prospect, but he wasn't, like, this is the best guy in the system. When he went to San Diego, he was, like, their number 4 prospect going into the next year. And now he's, like, one of the best players in baseball. Like, things like that are going to happen. So let's not pretend like it's the end of the world when it does.
Right. Well, and I think, too, when you think about these guys that aren't Cardinals anymore, like, do you remember everybody, and Terry brought this up, everybody, like, we should have re-signed Marcell Ozuna?
I mean, right now, he's got some issues of his own.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd be willing to bet the front office would have been privy to that information.
It wouldn't be.
Those sort of things don't happen.
Unfortunately, he's had domestic issues in the past, not necessarily like him causing the issues.
I was going to say
new information that him and his wife had a very estranged relationship. Like,
right,
problems had been had for a while.
Well, she's been arrested before too, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gone both ways. Like, this is not a very healthy relationship. It seems like so. It's not great.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this happened is still not great.
Right. So what does that do, they let these guys go. It is what it is. I know a lot of guys are like, well, we should have kept Voit and Wisdom. And it's like, so you want your first baseman to be Luke Voit and your third baseman to be Patrick Wisdom? Yeah,
like that I don't get. Like, of course, in a few years from now, if Goldschmidt really never
pans
Paul
out,
Goldschmidt of old, it's like, oh man, that kind of sucked. But like, what had Luke Voit like?
Well, he didn't. He didn't ever have a chance. And the thing is he wouldn't have ever had a chance.
Like yeah, exactly. Like we've talked about this. The year that he had the best opportunity to play was the year that Matt Carpenter was an MVP for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't going to play.
Nope. And think about the following
that offseason we get Paul Goldschmidt. He's not playing over Paul Goldschmidt at all.
Right. He's not.
And you know what we got? One of the best relievers in Major League Baseball.
Right. So, so what do you do to fix the team? Because I'm not ready to bail out on them. They look really bad right now, but I don't know what's causing them to be bad. I don't know exactly, but it could just be something little.
Who knows?
Like that was it 2018?
They need like what's it called? They need like their big spark for Major League. They need the ownerships to be like absolutely trash, and then they just play to stay in St. Louis. Like, I don't know. Like let's put some cameras in there and let's make a movie.
Yeah.
We just won't tell them we're recording. Like,
so what Phil says here, and I'm going to pull this up. Phil says acquire a starter and rectify the hitting issues.
Acquire a starter.
Yep.
Like, acquire 3 starters.
Well, honestly, I think if you got one starter, Jack Flaherty's going to be back. Now, I don't know what you're going to get with him when he does come back.
That's what I'm saying. You need to acquire 3 because it's Flaherty when he comes back, and then Wainwright, and you can get by with Carlos for now.
Right, and that leaves you with like, what's KK going to be?
Exactly. You throw him in the bullpen.
Well, if you get a starter, and then when everybody comes back, KK's the odd man out, and he goes to the bullpen. I'm good with that.
I'd argue that KK's not the odd man out at this point.
Well, no, not at this point.
It's Gant.
Yeah.
If anyone's moving because they acquire somebody right this second, it's Gant.
So,
Because
like,
my God, if he walks 5 more batters in a game, I'm gonna lose my mind.
well, let me tell you this situation too. I think that the Cardinals have a relief issue too because they don't have a long relief guy, right? So if you can't find a starter, maybe you can find a long relief guy that you can pair with a John Gant to finish out those innings, right? It's like, yeah, this is you and Gant's start today. You're going to pitch after him. Or, you know what I'm saying? They don't have that guy right now. The guy that you could put in there and go. They have pitchers that'll go 3, 2 innings, right? And it's like, that's not long relief.
I mean, you could realistically turn Ponce into that guy.
I think so. I think if you had Ponce and one other guy to do that, I think
Cabrera that guy.
You want him to be a starter, don't you?
I mean, I would like him to be a starter. Like, I would first give him a shot in a rotation before some of these other guys. Like, you gave him spot starts I think it was just last year. I don't think it was the year before that he made his. I don't remember. But like, you've given him starts in the past. Like, why just shove him in the bullpen this year?
Because don't you know you need a lefty in the bullpen? Right? That's conventional.
None of their lefties in the bullpen are good. I don't care. Like,
no. Well, that's my whole point. You don't need a lefty in the bullpen. The 3-batter minimum
is the most annoying thing on the planet. Like, stop.
3-batter minimum has done away with that.
Like, get a righty that can get guys out, or get a lefty that can get both sides out. I don't care. Like,
you get full bullpen of lefties or full bullpen of righties. As long as they can get guys out, it won't matter.
Like, I think I would be perfect in the front office because I would be able to simplify it so good. It's like, well, because as soon as somebody says like we need a lefty in the bullpen, I'm gonna be like, why? Be like, because you get lefties out. I'm like, how many teams have 3 lefties hitting in a row? Well, stop it. Shut up.
This would
care. Get somebody that gets both sides out. I don't care. If he throws righty, awesome. If he throws lefty, awesome. I don't care.
Yeah.
If he can't get both sides out, I don't want him. Get somebody else.
Well, and this would be me in the bullpen. They would come up to me with this stack of stats like, hey, look, his spin rate is this, and he can do this, and he can do that. And it's like, can he throw strikes? And does he get guys out? My criteria is not big.
It's like Moneyball. It's just like, we're not replacing Giambi. What does he do? He gets on base. He gets on base. Like, weirdly enough, they used analytics, but you know what else they did? They simplified it. What does he do really well? He gets on base. That's exactly what we need. We need guys right now that can get on base. We need guys that can throw strikes. Why is this so difficult? Like, they're making this so hard. Like dumb it down just a bit and go, okay, well, this guy throws a lot of strikes, but he doesn't throw all that hard. Like, he doesn't have a good spin rate. I don't care. Does he get guys out? I mean, yeah, he's pretty effective. I'm like, then sign him. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
does he walk people? Well, no. Does he get guys out? Yeah.
At this point, pick up Bartolo Colon from this independent league because he's still doing something.
Yeah.
I'd argue
who's his strength and conditioning coach?
I'd argue it couldn't be worse than what we have now. I'm willing to get experimental.
Yeah.
Like, you know how Rick Ankiel wanted to, like, have his, like, comeback story? I'm still open to that.
Yeah.
Like, just call him. Just see what he's doing. Like,
yeah. How do you feel about coming back and throwing a few pitches?
Even as a long reliever. Like, there's your long reliever right there.
Yeah.
Like, well, hey, we just need 3 innings from you, like, twice a week.
Let's get creative with this, right? Let's your guys that you don't really know what you're going to get are going to be your Carlos Martinez's and your John Gant's. Those are your 2 biggest question marks. KK's not great, but he's been consistent about what he's done.
Like, he's been fine.
And I don't need him to be
4.
I don't need him to be great, right? But so you've also got Oviedo and you've got Daniel Ponce de Leon. So why not use those guys as your long relievers and pair them up with your Gants and your Martinez's? So whenever those guys implode, you bring the other guys in to kind of finish it out.
Stop, Brad. You're making too much sense. You're going to scare the front office. Like,
it's not complicated. Oh,
it isn't. That's the problem.
I just used the word. Terry says put Brad Thompson out there. I'd take him.
I mean, he'd probably take league minimum.
I'd take league minimum. I don't know if I can throw strikes.
I was gonna say, I mean, I would too. You're gonna see a lot of the 58 mile an hour sliders.
I was gonna say, you ever seen what's his name, Zach Greinke throw the ethos pitch and pitchers look stupid?
Oh, it's hilarious.
That's my fastball.
Like, about to say, if anybody watching can at least give me some sort of indication whether or not it's accurate. Like over at Busch Stadium, they have a little section like, how hard do you throw? I've maxed like 75 miles an hour, and I couldn't feel my shoulder. So, like, you're going to get a lot of 58 mile an hour sliders, and they're all going to hang, but they're all going to be in the zone. Like, they're all going to be strikes. They're just all going to be hanging. So it's like, if you see those, like, position players that go out there and barely throw 60, but they still get outs, that's going to be me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'll throw it over the plate, and I just have to hope that they're really trying too hard and they pop it up or something.
Just learn a knuckleball, Aaron.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
Just learn a knuckleball. Make that bad boy dance.
If R.A. Dickey can do it, he won a Cy Young. And then look at what else he did, like, the next couple of years. It's like...
R.A. Dickey did that without a UCL.
Yes.
He was literally born without that ligament. And when he first came up, he was a flamethrower. Oh, that's so interesting. So, like, if it's me, that's what I'm saying. Maybe you can't, because, like, Mo said this in the interview with KMOX, that they can't keep doing what they're doing, which I agree. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is... the
definition of insanity.
Right, it's insanity. And you can't do that.
No.
They do it an awful lot. But I think that we as fans give up on guys quicker than they are. And sometimes we're right, and other times they're right.
I mean...
Because I was ready to give... I'm not going to lie. I was ready.
Fair, though. It took a 12-point-something ERA for them finally to be like, all right, Tyler Webb should probably go.
Maybe. And everybody took a look at Tyler Webb like, no, thank you. And he's in the minors now. He cleared waivers.
Our minor league system.
Yes. He cleared waivers.
There still.
So...
he's thrown like 3 innings for Memphis and given up like 6 runs.
Yeah, I think as a general manager, to get this team on the right track, you have to be creative, right? The conventional wisdom isn't going to do it. Tonight's lineup is a lineup that I said they should do, but they went with Carpenter at second base for the Chicago series, which Carpenter hasn't been bad, but man, your defense isn't good whenever he's in there. And
right now, your defense is just not good.
No, it's not.
But your outfield defense hinges on Bader being out there.
It's crazy.
Like, Carlson's fine in center field. I honestly, I'd rather put O'Neill in center field.
I was just going to say that.
He's got more range, and he won a Gold Glove last year.
Yeah.
Like, I'd put O'Neill in center and put Carlson in left.
Because that way, O'Neill
nobody cares what I have to think. They don't answer my phone calls. We've been over this.
O'Neill can cover the ground that Carlson... Not that Carlson's decent.
Yeah, he's fine.
But he can cover the ground that Carlson can't, and he can help out Edman.
I'd argue that O'Neill, as far as defense is concerned, is way more comparable to Bader than Carlson is. Mm-hmm. So, and then Edman is a really good second baseman. He's not a right fielder.
He's not. And and there's been times where he's lost around the warning track. If you watch that, that's a feel that you develop when you're in the outfield by playing it a lot. And until I don't think it was last year, it was the year before. Until that year, he had not played an outfield game since he was 13 years old. He just good on him. He's really good for having not been a right fielder for most of his life.
Super utility guys are the reason why, like. I actually hate super utility guys a lot because I used to be a super utility guy. I wish I would have played one position. I wish I would have played one position and got really good at it because I had to play every position, and so I never really got comfortable playing anything. And when you've got guys like this, like I understand, you want to make the team, you want to do anything you can to make the team. It's like, but are you really going to be your best self if you don't really know where you're playing that day?
Right.
Like, even if you are one of the best players on the planet, If you played second base 90% of the time and all of a sudden you're playing right field, it's not the same thing.
It's not the same.
You're expecting something completely different. Like, you remember this even last year when we played softball. What did I play most of the time?
Outfield.
Third base. And then what happened like the first game
outfield.
they threw me into left center? I overran a ball badly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I am not used to doing this again.
So I pretty much play infield, and it's different from third base to first base to second base to shortstop, and I've played all those positions.
Yeah.
And it's different. The ball looks different. You know, when you play third base and the ball's smoked at you, the ball takes a lot longer to get to you whenever you're playing second base, even though it doesn't seem like it. But whenever you're playing those two positions, it's like, oh, this is taking a long time. So to me, I think that, man, I think the best lineup that they got right now is Sosa at second base and DeJong at short and Edman in right field. Unfortunately, that's where they're at injury wise. Right, once Bader's back, you put Edman back where he belongs, and you put Bader back where he belongs, and Dylan Carlson back where he belongs, and then your defense is set, and you'll get these guys comfortable, and they'll make defensive plays. And whenever your defense is better, your offense is better, or your pitching is better. Those things work hand in hand.
Have you seen all the talk on Twitter, like just all the people like losing their minds on Paul DeJong? Like the amount of people that have just completely turned on Paul DeJong.
I know that there are a bunch of people that have completely turned on him.
I haven't read weirdly enough, I would love to see him get traded, only because I would love to see him be that guy that goes somewhere else and is just an absolute stud for the rest of his career. Yeah. Just so I can look at every single one of those people and go, you wanted this. This is what you wanted. And now he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
but I don't know, like, I don't think Edmundo Sosa is the shortstop of the future for this franchise.
Like, look at what he's done in the minors and tell me that what he's doing now is like, oh yeah, no, that's definitely
well here's my
major
thing.
Leaguer forever. Like, that's not how this works.
DeJong is a good shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
And he can hit for power. So it's going to be really hard to find somebody that's not going to be a downgrade in the interim while you try to find your forever shortstop, right?
Yeah.
So
unless their big plan is to possibly trade him and then go all in for Trevor Story in the offseason, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Now, that would be cool. So it
would be cool.
I'll
stick with that. It would be very cool.
Like, in a perfect world, the Cardinals package DeJong in a deal and get Max Scherzer and then sign Trevor Story.
And then keep Max Scherzer for another year or two.
Mm-hmm. And then you roll with Max Scherzer and Jack Flaherty at the top of your lineup, your rotation. I mean, the team is more than one player away, but they're not that far away, which is kind of interesting about this team, right?
They're like two and a quarter players.
You could make two really good moves and have a dominant team.
Yeah.
You could make two really good moves. So, like Phil said, and he pulled this up here, he said go back to the batting order, and I agree. So the same approach you take with the rotation, let's just use a little common sense. If guys aren't performing, drop them down. You know? So one of the things Phil suggested is drop Goldschmidt to 5. And so drop Goldschmidt to 5 and then just push everybody up, right? So
yeah.
Or 6, and then push Yachty up to 5, O'Neill up to 4, and then Arenado to 3, Carlson and Edman. Just move things around until you find something that works, right? Because at the beginning of the year, it was Goldschmidt batting second, and that wasn't working.
Yeah. And
so they had to move guys around, and when they did, it worked for a little bit, and then it stopped working. So you got to move guys around until you find something that works.
Right.
So I think if you fix that lineup right, and like tonight, I think is the best you can do until Bader's healthy. And then you just start moving guys around the batting order until you find something that works. And like, I don't think where you bat in the batting order matters to you as a hitter that much unless you have a huge ego. Like, it doesn't change your approach at the plate. To me, the only place in the batting order that changes your approach at the plate is leadoff hitter. Because you've got a different job. Everybody else has hit the ball hard and run a lot. but the leadoff hitter's job is to get on base. So, yeah, change it up until they produce. And I think you could move a few guys and, I mean, if you hit the right guys, if you get if you get some bullpen help, like, it's not going to be flashy and it's not going to be the big splash, but it could go a long way to helping this team, especially whenever you start getting some healthy starters back. So, anyway, we have gone an hour and right at 10 minutes. We'll be 10 minutes and 5 seconds. So I don't know that we could probably go another hour and 10 minutes complaining about this team.
So yeah, my girlfriend may not appreciate that.
Yeah, she won't appreciate that. Your cat sounds angry in the background.
Oh yeah, no, they're scratching the door. They're just like, we want out. And it's like, you'll be fine. You're going to wait another few minutes. I got to tear this down first.
Yeah. And so we're going to wrap it up at that. One of the things I do want to invite you guys to is on Wednesday morning will be the first episode of Cards and Coffee. Coffee and Cards, Cards and Coffee. And I want to talk about this Sports Illustrated article about
sticky stuff.
And it's a really interesting article, and there are some really interesting names. So I will share that article that morning so you guys can read along with me. And we'll go through it, and I'll share my thoughts with you. And it should only be about a 30-minute long thing because I know you guys got to do productive things at work.
Depending on what my Wednesday morning look like, I might hop on. I am off that day, but I'm getting my second COVID shot tomorrow, so I might be dead. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, so you're getting your second COVID shot, and I'm getting a filling tomorrow.
Ugh.
So all right.
Yeah, so we're gonna have really good Tuesdays.
Yeah. All right. Well. That's all I got for you, Aaron. That's it? Anything else?
That's about it. The Cardinals suck right now, is what it is.
Yeah. But don't give up on them. The season isn't over yet.
100 more games. Let's go.
Yep. Turn this ship around. We can do this. All right, so that's that. Catch you next time, guys. Bye.
Later.